Hi everyone, Big Finny Leak Tano here, the internet's biggest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Hot Chip album, Freakout, release. This is the 8th full-length LP from long-running UK synthpop and electropop outfit Hot Chip, which comes a few years after the record A Bath Full of Ecstasy, an album that really failed to stop me in my tracks, so much so that I didn't even do a formal full review of it. I was hoping that Freakout release would be a different story, especially given some of the bold singles leading up to it. Down, for example, I think is one of Hot Chip's catchiest and most disco-infused tracks yet. The tight drum work on this track is fantastic, as are those very hype refrains of "Girl, know how to break it all down." The production is lush, groovy, colorful, the performance energetic, but not too wild. I like how every once in a while Hot Chip really nails that balance of the polite banger. Then there's the title track, which may be the most biting single the band has ever released, with all of its distorted robot vocals and very heavy, very aggressive synth riffs that resemble that of like a metal song. Hot Chip has never sounded so sinister sonically, but also lyrically, with calls of wild beast, freakout release, black teeth, freakout release. These cuts make for a very promising first leg of the LP, as does the bittersweet blend of synth funk and electropop on ELEANOR. The heart-wrenching Broken as well is one of the most touching songs I think the band has ever worked out. It's a vulnerable ballad about feeling broken and emotionally dysfunctional, maybe in your own mind ready to cope with hardships, but instead falling short and knowing that you're not really there. The pumping EDM style choruses, which are very nuanced and subtle, transition fantastically and gradually from these very melodic and bare bones verses. So these tracks are all great, love these tracks, but the blandness of this LP begins to set in around the midpoint, as yeah, the excitement really does take a nosedive. There's Not Alone, which is a very stiff and breathy ballad that makes me feel like I am hanging out in a museum in the metaverse, staring at soulless pieces of AI-generated art. And while the track's lyrics about sadness and isolation do hit, I wish that these feelings came out more in the vocal performance and the instrumental. The awkwardness of Hard to Be Funky I'm not all that crazy about too. It's a bit of a tough pill to swallow with lyrics like hard to feel sexy when you're not very funky, which I get adds to a general sentiment about having a difficulty connecting with human emotions due to a numbness or an awkwardness, something like that. But again, I wouldn't call the lyrical descriptions of this sensation all that impressive. Plus, I think Lou Hader on the back end is a good addition to the cut. It definitely makes for a stronger finish, but in a sense, it's kind of too little too late. If only her inclusions had been peppered throughout the track to kind of bring up the energy level. From here, the record continues to lose flavor and steam. Miss the Bliss is really more bland than it is blissful, nor does it sound as dark and in the dumps as the chorus would imply too. Then there's The Evil That Men Do, which in a sense I do appreciate the attempt on this track of making a grand statement about the topic stated in the title, but I'm not really sure about the rap tie-in toward the end with a Canadian rap veteran cadence weapon. This part almost reads like a forced, meaningful Macklemore type moment. I mean, maybe not as tacky, but still clearly operating in that lane. There were really only two spots in the second half that left a super positive impression on me, one of them being Time, which is kind of like a very cerebral John Hopkins-esque house track with lots of subtle driving beats, very serene droning synths. The chorus builds in a kind of anthemic way, though I wish the vocals kind of carried things further passion-wise. Then the closing track I found kind of interesting, especially with its vocal harmonies at the start carrying lyrics that read like positive self-affirmations, which backs up some of this LP's themes of self-love and preservation, self-sufficiency and care. There's something very English about the wording of these lyrics, and some of the harmonies as well reads like some very early new wave shit, especially as we transition into this pulsating second half with a lot of old school analog synth mayhem going on. Overall, I thought this LP was a pretty mixed bag. I was hoping for a stronger showing from Hot Chip this time around, especially given how underwhelming their last record was. But despite some great singles, there were way more snoozers in the track list here than I was anticipating. And sadly, overall, I don't think the record comes together all that well in terms of these songs having a guiding sonic theme or direction, or really that much of a lyrical theme or direction either. So not only are a lot of the songs on this LP bland, I don't think they come together all that cohesively too. Yeah, there are a handful of good cuts here, but outside of that, this LP is very, very, very underwhelming and okay at best. I'm feeling a strong 5 to a light 6 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Hot Chip of Forever.